I see you. You can't see you, but you can just talk into the camera.
Okay. What's the first thing to make pie?
There. Oh, there we go. Getting some of that out of there. That's good. Make a cute little pinwheel pattern because that's my style. You haven't seen us in a while, but we decided that we wanted to take a little bit of a break after Halloween. Yes, so the pie I'm going to be making today is going to be gluten-free, dairy-free, and peanut and tree nut free.
Okay, I want to eat a pie, so let's get started.
Okay, go away. The flour I'm using today is King Arthur gluten-free flour. And I've already checked this one. You want to make sure that even with specific items that might say that they are gluten-free or dairy-free, it doesn't mean that they're going to be allergy-friendly in any other way. So you always have to make sure that if you are baking for somebody with an allergy, or if you just want to be aware of it and not make something that has a common allergen, you always have to check your ingredient list no matter what it says on the front. At least that's what I do. And you always want to double check, because even though it might be a gluten-free product, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be dairy-free or nut-free by design, because they might just specialize in gluten-free. But you always want to double check by reading through your ingredients list. Read all the way through it. If you don't know what an ingredient is, just take the time to Google it and you can find the answer. You want to make sure that you read through the back label, because they're going to put on there if it's produced on equipment that processes certain allergens, which will not appear in the ingredients list. So we're going to be using that, Morton salt, Earth Balance vegan buttery sticks. We use this for baking. So we're going to use a half cup of butter, 1 stick of that, and you want it to be cold. And then I've had some ice water sitting out to get nice and ice cold. So we're starting with our crust. One and a fourth cups flour. Whoa. Half cup salt. Supposed to be a 4th teaspoon salt. Try not to touch it as much as possible because you don't want it to melt. You want the butter to be pea-sized as you are mixing it into your flour. So I'm switching to a fork. Next comes your icy cold water. Right there. And I'm gonna add a teaspoon at a time. And then kind of mix it in. Now here's where it gets different from all the other recipes, is that gluten-free flour doesn't behave the same way as all-purpose flour. So it's gonna take a little bit more moisture to get this this crust to actually come together more. But you don't want to go too far with it. It's a fine line to walk. But original recipe, if you're just taking a regular recipe and you're adapting it, which is what I usually do. I don't specifically look for recipes that are, sometimes I will if it's a more difficult recipe to figure out on my own, but if I can just adapt it on my own, I'll just go off of regular recipes and I'll just substitute in my ingredients to make sure that it's peanut and tree nut free and dairy free, and sometimes gluten free. But once you get used to working with gluten-free flour, you'll kind of figure it out, but there are still some surprises along the way as you're working with it. But basically, gluten sounds like it is as it sounds. It's like a glue, it glues together. The gluten glues it together, and without that, you get a very crumbly product with gluten-free flour. And that's okay, because it will bake and it will taste really good when it comes out of the oven. But this is not what your other recipes are going to look like when you're looking for other making pie videos or pie crust videos. You're not going to find that somebody using all-purpose flour, that theirs is going to look like this. This is going to be the difference between a regular recipe and the recipe that I'm working with. So I'm going to go a little bit more cold water. And sometimes, I mean, it's an experiment a lot of times to just see how you have to adapt it as you're working with it, because to get the consistency that you want with gluten-free flour, it's a little bit different than regular flour. And this is where the experiment comes in. And the trick is to see, does it hold together a little bit? And it does. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna chill it, at least for a few hours in the fridge. I don't want to work it too much, because then the butter's gonna get all melty, and so it won't be as nice and flaky. But you gotta work with what you got, and we've got gluten-free flour, and so I'm making it into its own nice little dough ball. But it's just easier to do once it's in the saran wrap. See? It'll hold together, so it won't look the same as regular flour, but it will still taste really good, and it's crumbly and flaky and yummy. And there we go. Kind of forming it a little bit more than you would normally, but there, nice little dough ball. And now, into the fridge. All right, so dough has been in the refrigerator for about 5 hours now. So I'm gonna start working with it to roll it out and then get it placed on my pie plate. Wanna leave about 3 inches beyond the diameter of your pie plate, so that way you can make the little crimps around the end. That's the technical term. And make it look pretty, but you can't do that if you don't have an extra amount around the end. Oh, there we go. Getting some of that out of there. Now comes the tough part, which is transferring this to my pie plate. However, one thing that you have to know is that this is not going to go well. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to break as I put it in the pie plate, but the important thing is that you try to get it mainly where you need it to be, and then we can glue it back together and shape it in the pan. What I'm gonna do is probably what they're gonna tell you not to do has been. Hey, that went way better than I thought it was gonna. It's going to shrink up a little bit when you're baking it. So that's another reason you want to have extra on the edges. The holidays are one of the times that most people who have allergies, food allergies, will have a reaction, is when they are getting together with family and everyone assumes that something was made safely for everybody there, and sometimes people forget. Now tell me that isn't a beautiful pie crust. Is it perfect? No, it's the first one I've done. But, well, I helped my mom when I was growing up make pies. But so it's not like the first one I've ever done, but this is the first one I've done on my own and with gluten-free flour. So I'm pretty proud of this. Some people use pie weights. I don't have pie weights. Bake it, take it out, and then we're going to put in our pie filling and then I'm gonna put it back in the oven and I'm gonna bake it. So I'm just gonna poke some holes in, and then I'm gonna check it as it's baking, and I'm going to just make sure that there's no bubbles. Into the oven. I'm only gonna throw it in the oven for maybe 10 minutes just to pre-bake the bottom a little. So now, while my pie crust is in the oven pre-baking, I'm going to mix up my pumpkin pie filling. Okay, so now on to the pie filling. Coconut milk. Canned coconut milk is a substitute for sweetened condensed milk. It's the full fat kind. You're baking other things that you like that creaminess. The full fat is gonna give you that nice creaminess. A small can of pumpkin, but you can see it's starting to look like it's getting a little bit of color, and it's also getting a little kind of flaky and crumbly looking. Now that I have my shell out of my pumpkin pie crust out of there, I'm gonna turn up the heat on my oven to 425 to bake the pie, and that I will bake that for 15 minutes or so, and then around 15 minutes I'm going to turn the temperature down to 375, and I'll keep baking. If you wanted to do 100% make from scratch, you would buy yourself a nice little pumpkin pie sized pumpkin. Look at that nice creamy coconut. And they tell you to shake up the coconut, and I don't like to shake it up.
Oh yeah, I like to shake it up.
It'll have this really nice cream on top. Look at how nice and thick that is. And then I'm gonna throw in my eggs. 3/4 cup sugar. Okay, that's looking nice. That looks pretty good. And I'm gonna add my own little seasonings. Go with pumpkin pie spice, and then I'm probably gonna add just a titch more cinnamon, because we are a cinnamon family, and a little bit of salt. Beautiful, looks gorgeous. Okay, now the filling. Thank you to my mom for this nice trick about putting the tinfoil over the edges. But I'm glad I pre-baked mine, because I think it's needed for gluten-free crust. I think you need to pre-bake it. It's pretty sturdy. It's not like crumbling or breaking off. I would have thought that it might be a little more delicate, but it's not. Yes. It's done. Look at that. It turned out beautiful. This could be you if you watch my video. There it is. It's beautiful. It turned out great. The crustomer looks awesome. You can see here that I took a knife and cut into it to see if it was done. That's what these little holes are. But I'll just slop some whipped cream on there and nobody will know the difference. So there you have it. Pie done. We made a crust. We mixed up some ingredients that was really easy to make the filling. And then we have a done pie. So I think we count that as a win, 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 win. What's the fourth win? Video's done. You made it.
Awesome.
Happy holidays, and hope you enjoyed the video. Give us a little thumbs up if you're liking our content. Maybe subscribe if you like it. Thanks, guys. Happy holidays. Bye. is on call for any FaceTime that I need for some moral support. Thanks, Mom. But I just bumped the camera. Hey, welcome back.
Gonna make some pie! Am I in the shot if I want?
Yes, you are.
No! Ow! You rolling on this? Oh my gosh. So, it may be Thanksgiving now, but it won't be by the time we're done with this.
I'm gonna be baking my pie to the normal amount. Whoa.
Yeah, I like to shake it up.
Kinda hurt.